Joining us now is the co-founder of Togotiki software company specializing in interactive and 360-degree media out of Bloomfield Hills. Pete Stenger joins us now on the MegaCast. Pete, thank you for being with us.
Hey, Tyler, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. So first of all, just give us a little bit of your background and the basic information about your company.
Well, my background's kind of interesting. I'm actually a CPA by trade who got into software development about 15 years ago. And on that journey, got into kind of the world of photography, which led me to realize that there's a kind of a lack of capabilities in the area of delivering interactive content. And so I started using my software development background, this new company, to help deliver interactive content 360 to people in a really easy way without having to do any software coding.
So when you say interactive content and when you talk about 360-degree content, define that for us, because interactive can mean so many different things, especially when it comes with video. What sort of projects does your company work on in that sense?
Okay, so if I think of just a traditional video, we think of it as a linear storytelling process. As the viewer, you have a few options. You can hit play, you can hit pause, you can stop, right? Well, in an interactive one, we can actually make the content that you're watching and your interaction with that content change the storyline. So for example, the video has you walking into a building and the narration says, do you want to go to the right or to the left? You can interact, and by choosing right or left, you can actually direct the storyline to be different, kind of a gamification of a video. So the applications for that we're working on have to do with education and training and resort and spatial marketing. The other aspect of what we're working on that you kind of touched on there is that 360 element. And so if you're not familiar with what we mean by 360 imagery, it is a special type of camera that takes a picture in all directions at one time. And it could be a video or a still image. People often are accustomed to seeing this maybe in home tours, particularly during COVID. People would be able to go through a house and see each room in 360. So we've combined that with the video capabilities so that your 360 image can come to life a little bit more by having the video content, the narration experience along with it to really help give telepresence, I guess.
And so what goes into making these different videos? Because I would imagine you have to consider all possible avenues when you're telling one story versus the other. It's even just one environment versus the other, especially if you're mentioning like home tours or for educational purposes. So just how much planning and execution and what kind of brainstorming goes into creating these videos for these clients?
That's a really good question, because as we've gotten into this area, we've discovered that that's a kind of a new skill set that people are needing to develop. So if you take a typical home tour, that's a fairly easy format to imagine. You've got a front door, you're going to walk into the home, you're going to see maybe the ground floor, and then you're going to take people up to some bedrooms. Pretty easy, and as they go through, you're allowing them to maybe interact with that space in a 360 format. Go into the kitchen and now turn around and be able to see the full kitchen. Very easy. But when you're talking about like education or medical applications, it gets a little bit more, it needs a lot more of a creative whiteboarding process. And where we find that that's helpful is to kind of go in reverse if you're dealing with an educator to say, okay, what are your primary learning objectives you want to achieve? And where do you see the greatest failure rate with people not understanding the content? And those create your off-ramps where you need to be able to provide some remedial content, maybe giving people some more background. Some people are going to get it and not need it. Some people might. And so putting question and answer type interaction into the video can really help drive that experience.
We're joined by Pete Stenger, co-founder of Togotiki software company, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. More information on their website, togotiki.com. That's togotiki.com for more information. And so how does this system work for your clients then? Because when they're coming in, they have, I would imagine, very specific things that they want to be interactive or they want to be 360. So just how flexible are these projects for these different businesses, especially for those storytellers that would like to not just tell a story in a linear fashion like you mentioned earlier, but tell it in a way that it's kind of like a web. It has so many different routes that you can go
Yeah.
and sub routes that you can take to tell a similar story or a mix of several stories in one environment.
Yeah, so we've kind of taken a unique approach to this. We wanted no coding. The people who use the system don't have to have any software coding experience. They can load up their videos and their images into our file library. We do all the processing to get them ready for streaming. And then through a drag and drops tool, they kind of assemble those pieces and show and are able to draw the linkage between them. The other thing that we've done that's unique is at each point that there's a link between two pieces of media, we've created a unique URL at that point. So basically a unique website link, which that then allows, and every point is a point of entry. So if you are writing a story and you want to be able to allow some people to come into the story at the end or in the middle, you have all those entry points. So it really creates kind of a unique way to kind of jump into an educational process or into a story. If, for example, if you were doing something maybe in education, you don't need to have someone watch the entire series if all they need to understand is a particular topic that's 3/4 of the way through. You can directly send them to that point of interactivity and shorten that time.
We're joined by Pete Stenger, co-founder of Togotiki Software Company. More information on their website, togotiki.com, as they join us here on the MegaCast today. And so for the storytelling element in particular, for education too, what are some of these uses that have been executed using this system, using this software? What are some examples of some of these videos that are being used, and what's the reaction from your clients?
So one of the videos that I think is really a neat use case was a hand surgeon who had prepared a 20-minute video that was intended for the medical professional community on the conditions and treatments of various hand diseases, carpal tunnel syndrome, trigger finger, things like that. And what he realized was he wanted to be able to communicate more effectively with his patients, lay people, about the various conditions, symptoms, and treatment options. And he had this 20-minute video. So we took that video and we retooled its content, made it interactive so that it was accessible to someone who doesn't have a medical background. He could direct them specifically to the section if they were being treated for carpal tunnel. Go right to this section. I give you the options to look at the treatments, the conditions, the symptoms, and your options, and they could navigate around. We've all had that experience. We've been to the doctor's office, we listen, we hear, and we get to the car, and we've got 5 more questions, or we don't remember. So this really was an interesting project to deliver not only content to the patient before they met with the doctor, but a take-home that they could go revisit.
And so what sort of impact are you seeing on your clients who are choosing these products and services versus a more linear method of training or of educating or of telling a story? How has utilizing your product, your software, benefited them in their eyes?
Their feedback from their viewers and their audience is that they really like the experience of being able to choose the content they want to engage with. The retention levels for the content goes up. Video in general is a great learning format because you are not only seeing and using your eyes and your ears, which are 2 auditory memory actions, but when you add the physical action of being able to move in and the decision-making process, you improve retention and comprehension. So people are more likely to remember your product, remember your service, and hopefully make that purchase decision right in the video because you can have the buy now button right there.
We're joined by Pete Stenger, the co-founder of Togotiki Software Company, joining us on the MegaCast. More information on their website, togotiki.com. That's togotiki.com. And I understand that for those who may be interested in trying out this interactive video software, that you do have a free trial available.
Yeah. There's a free 30-day trial and free demos, free training sessions. You can go on our website, click it. You'll get with myself or John or any of the other people that we can get you up and running really quick. And so you can experiment and see how it goes.
And I also understand too that you do some work with nonprofits, or your services could be very helpful for nonprofits. Can you explain that relationship, how that developed, and how you are helping these organizations that are really in a great need right now, especially starting to come out of the throes of the pandemic?
Yeah, so for example, just yesterday, we met with the Harbor Springs Historical Society, and they are taking one of the old buildings in their town that was built in the 1880s, and they're doing massive renovation on it. So they're in a big capital campaign. So we went in and we took some 360 imagery, got some drone footage and video content that they can now use to help educate potential donors about not only the project, but their vision. We'll be able to include in that their architectural vision of what they want to do with that space and make it an interactive experience. And we're doing that in this case, basically as a free service, because we really believe in the mission that they're doing.
And what about hosting these videos too? Because it's one thing to make them, it's another thing to host them or put them in a dedicated space, especially if you're creating dedicated websites for them. Do you host these videos on something like YouTube or Vimeo or other systems, or is that on the client ultimately to arrange for the hosting of these videos?
Yeah, no, part of our service is we host and stream the videos from an Azure dedicated data center. So you have reliable streaming capacity. And we also can do a lot of stuff that we don't even get into, like doing artificial intelligence to create transcript of your videos. We can translate your transcripts into multiple different languages if you're trying to reach a broader audience. So there's a lot of stuff we can do as the hosting agent, if that's all you need.
We're joined by Pete Stenger, co-founder of Togotiki Software Company, on the MegaCast. More information on the website, Togotiki.com, Togotiki.com, for more information and to try their free trial of their interactive video software as well. Pete, are there any other technologies, too, that your company is working on outside of the 360 video and the interactive video softwares?
Well, initially, our strategy has been to make sure that we can deploy to mobile devices, PCs, Mac devices. They're the largest base of installed things. Right now, what we're looking at the head-mounted units like an Oculus and things like that, and how we can bring content and interactivity into that space too. So that's kind of on our roadmap. That's probably our next biggest technology challenge.
We're joined by Pete Stenger, co-founder of Togotiki Software Company, joining us on the MegaCast. More information is on the website, Togotiki.com. That's Togotiki.com for more information. And so Pete, as we look into the future, just how more prevalent do you believe that interactive video and 360 media is going to be in the overall landscape, especially for just everyday small businesses and companies that normally aren't really dabbling into video?
I think it's going to be a big game changer. If you think about like how people interact with something like TikTok, and 7 or 8 years ago, what was TikTok? Who knew? And now it's a major delivery mechanism. I think as consumers and businesses get acquainted with interactive video and the ability to immediately react to what you're seeing and change the impact, it's going to be huge.
We're joined by Pete Stenger. He is the co-founder of Togotiki Software Company, joining us on the MegaCast, Togotiki.com. That's Togotiki.com for more information. Pete, another couple minutes before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know or consider about your company or the services that you provide at this time?
We like to let people know if they have their own photographers or their own media, this is a great platform to work with all that. If you don't and you're concerned about that, we're happy to work with a team of people and bring in photographers, videographers, drone services, and the storyboarding. So we realize that not everybody and not all of our clients are capable of deploying this. So, we give that full width of service beyond just the software.
Togotiki Software Company can be found in Bloomfield Hills and online 24 hours a day at Togotiki.com. Pete, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tyler. Have a great day.